Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Dania and today's topic focuses on phrasal verbs. So basically I will be sharing with you some of the phrasal verbs with the meaning, examples and explanations to help you understand everything in an easy way. Alright, so let's start. The first phrasal verb is eat out. What does that mean? It means to dine at a restaurant rather than at home. So if you want to eat at a restaurant, you can say we eat out or we are going to eat out at a particular restaurant. Alright? So this is the meaning of eat out. So let's look at some examples to know more about the use of eat out in sentences. After a long day at work, Sarah and her family decided to eat out at their favorite burger joint instead of cooking dinner at home. So what is the meaning of this example? It means that Sarah and her family decided to eat outside and not at home. So instead of saying they decided to eat outside, we can say they decided to eat out. So because eat out means out of the house. Alright, so this is how we can use eat out in sentences. Now let's look at the next phrasal verb. Hang out. Hang out, that means to spend time with friends. Hang out. So, for example, on weekends, my friends and I like to hang out at the park, playing frisbee and chatting. So what does that mean? It means that we like to spend time together, maybe at the park, or maybe, and not just at the park. It's like if you want to spend time with your friends somewhere, alright, like at the park, at maybe in the shopping mall, things like that, then we can use hang out, as long as you are connected with your friends at a particular place. The most important thing is the connection between you and your friends. If you guys are connected, doing some activities together, then you can use hang out. Hang out with friends, or if it is happening right now, you can say we are hanging out with friends using the ing if you are speaking about something that is happening right now. So this will be connected with present continuous. But here we are speaking about weekends. On weekends, what does that mean? We are talking about something happens every weekend, and so we are speaking about a routine. And when we speak about routine, what do we need to use? We need to use the present simple form. Alright, so this is really important. That is why it says my friends and I like to hang out. Another thing, after to, you need to use the base form condition, hang. So we can't say to hanging out. No, to hang, to do, to go, to play. Alright, so this is really important for you to consider. If you have to in the sentence, then the verb after to should be in the base form condition. This is number one. Number two, if you speak about a routine or something that happens every weekend, every day, every Monday, every month, something like that, you need to use the present simple form. Alright, so let's move into another phrasal verb, which is catch up. Catch up means that to reach the same level or status as someone or something else after falling behind. What does that mean? I will give you an example so you can understand the idea very well, and then I will explain the example, okay? Let's have a look at this example. I need to study hard. I need to study hard. Why? To catch up with my classmates after missing a week of school due to illness. What does that mean? It means that it shows that I did not go to school for 1 week. Why? Because I was sick. and because of that I missed a lot of lessons, a lot of homework, a lot of exams and things like that. And so because of what happened in 1 week, it will be maybe difficult for me to to follow up with the teacher maybe, or to have the same standard as the other students. So to achieve the same level like as my classmates, I need to catch up. I need to catch up with everything. Like I need to study hard. I need to do everything possible to be on the same level, not behind. So that is why we can use catch up. And by the way, you can actually use catch up not just for school. You can use it basically at work as well. If you feel that your colleagues are maybe getting better than you, or maybe they are getting into higher level, maybe higher position, maybe receiving a lot of promotions and you are not, so you feel that you are kind of left behind. So what you need to do, you need to catch up. You need to work hard. You need to improve yourself so your manager or your boss can see you, can feel that you are doing really great and deserve promotions, deserve maybe a better position, things like that. So in this case we can use catch up to reach the same level as other students, as other colleagues, or even in social life as well. Like, for example, if you see maybe your neighbors or maybe friends who are doing really great in life and you are not, so you feel that you really want to be on the same social status. In this case you need to catch up with them. You need to do everything possible to be in the same position with them. All right, so this is how we can use catch up. And by the way, this is only one meaning. There is actually another meaning of catch up that I will be sharing with you in a few seconds. All right, so but before sharing the other meaning with you, I would like to ask, if you have any questions or not clear, please let me know in the comments. All right, so now let's move into the next meaning of catch up, which is to spend time with someone to find out what has happened in their life recently. What does that mean? It means that when you don't see someone, like let's say you haven't met your friends maybe for quite some time, and you feel and you're wondering like what has been happening in their lives. So in this case you can use catch up. Like we can say, I am catching up with my friends, or maybe with my school friends or university friends, things like that. So when you don't meet people for quite some time and you want to be updated, you want to know what is happening in their lives, then we can use catch up. So in this case you can simply like pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, how have you been doing? I haven't met you for quite some time, so let's catch up this weekend. So in this case you want to meet them to know like what has been happening, like this kind of chatting with friends, like just to know, to be updated, all right, like on each other. So in this case we can use catch up. Now let's look at this example to understand more the use of catch up in such a situation. Example, let's meet for coffee this weekend so we can catch up on all the news. As you see on the picture, the three women are basically meeting up for coffee to catch up, like to update themselves on what has been happening. You might be wondering, like in this case, we are talking about meet up with friends, and the previous phrasal verb also connected with meet up with friends, and like for example the use of hangouts. So you might be wondering, like, are they the same? Is it possible to use hangout and catch up? Well, there is actually a difference between hangout and catch up. The difference is about the frequency. Like how frequently do you meet with these people, or maybe with friends? If you have a regular meetup with your friends, in this case you can use hangout. But if you don't have a regular contact with friends, in this case you can use catch up. All right, so this is the difference between hangout and catch up. So it depends on the frequency, like how frequently do you meet with these people. All right, so for now let's move into another phrasal verb. Break up. You need to use break up when we speak about the ending of relationship, right? And which is basically the most commonly used way of breakup. But the other meaning is when you separate something into smaller parts. Separate something into smaller parts, that means if you have something big and you need to divide it into smaller parts to so that it will be easy for you to handle, then we can use a breakup. So breaking something into smaller parts. All right, let's look at some examples to understand more the use of breakup. Example number 1. Tom and Sarah decided to break up last week. Why? Because they realized they wanted different things in life. So what does that mean? The relationship between Tom and Sarah has ended. Why? Because they want different things in life. And so this is basically like a common reason for relationship breakup, like when couples understand that they have different dreams, maybe they have different things in life, and so they feel that the continuation of the relationship is an obstacle, like is a problem. It will not bring any benefits to them, and so they decide to break up. Breakup is not only about having another person in between. It can even be about the dreams or the future of the couple. All right, but that is why we are using a breakup. All right, now let's look at the next example. In this example, to make it easier to carry, I will break up this large chocolate bar into smaller pieces for everyone to share. So what does that mean? We are speaking about sharing. All right, so because the chocolate bar is quite big, and so I decided to break it up into smaller parts so every person can have their own share of the chocolate. So this is how we can use the breakup to speak about breaking big things into smaller parts, and not just about chocolates. I mean, you can actually use breakup, right, to speak about other things as well. So even like, for example, you have a project and the project is really huge, so you need to like break it up into maybe points, into strategies, so that it will be easy for you to handle the project. In this case, we can use breakup. It's like I am breaking up this project like into parts, all right? Or let's say you are maybe dealing with with math problems and you need to solve the problem, and in this case you can also use breakup. We need to break up the problem into parts so that we can easily solve it. So something like that, all right? So this is how you can use breakup in sentences. So again, you can use breakup to speak about the ending of relationships, maybe friendships, things like that. It's like ending contracts, all right? So the contract can be between couples, between maybe friends, between and others, all right? And also another meaning of breakup is when you need to break big things into smaller parts. So I really hope the meaning is kind of clear by now. If not, just let me know in the comments and I will explain it to you a bit further. Now let's move into the next phrasal verb, which is point out. Point out. What does that mean? When you want to indicate or draw attention to something, we need to use point out. Example: Let's say you are maybe walking in the park and suddenly you saw a beautiful bird. In this case, you can say, "Oh my gosh, look at this bird." So you will be like pointing at that bird. So in this case, we can use point out. I am pointing out at that bird, something like that. All right, and not only when you want to point out at birds or things like that, you can actually use it to draw attention to anything, really anything. If you want people to pay attention to something, we can use point out. Let's have a look at this example. During the hike, Sarah pointed out various types of birds and flowers to her friends, making the journey more enjoyable. What does that mean? It means that Sarah and her friends were having maybe an enjoyable evening, right, like in the mountains, because it is basically during the hike. So in this case, like when they were walking, right, she encountered or she saw different kinds of birds and flowers. So to make the journey really interesting and enjoyable, she started drawing her friends' attention to the different kinds of flowers and birds. So this is basically one way of using point out in sentences. Now let's look at another meaning of point out. You can also use point out like in the class, or maybe when you have presentations or discussions, things like that. So for example, let's say you are having a discussion, or maybe you are having a presentation and the presenter said something and you need to add extra information. All right, so in this case we can say, "I would like to point out something important," or maybe, "I would like to point out like an idea," something. Okay, so in this way we can use point out. That means you need to draw, you need to bring other people's attention to something, so that everyone will be listening to what you are saying or looking at what you are looking at. This is basically the use of point out. I really hope the idea is clear. If not, just let me know in the comments and I will explain it to you a bit further in the comments. All right, so for now let's move into another phrasal verb. Put out. Put out. What does that mean? Put out actually has two meanings. Meaning number one, to extinguish a fire. Extinguish a fire. When there is a fire, we need to use the extinguisher, as you see it on the picture, where the man is using the extinguisher, which is the one in a red color. That one is called extinguisher. All right, so we need to use it to put out the fire. This is number one. Number two, you can use put out to make an effort to help someone. So when you need to deal with helping people, we can use put out. For now, let's look at two examples, one with the fire and the second one with the help, just to understand the idea much better. After the barbecue, make sure to put out the flames completely. Why? To avoid any accidents. If you look at the picture, it shows that they were having barbecue. And what is happening after the barbecue? They are putting out the flames. Why? To avoid any accidents. To avoid any accidents, that means to not have any accidents after that. Now let's look at the second meaning. When my car broke down, so we are speaking about problems that happened to the car. When my car broke down, my friends kindly put out some money to help me get it fixed. So what does that mean? Because the car broke down, and by the way, when we say broke down, it doesn't mean the car broke into pieces, because the meaning can be a little bit confusing. Like when we say broke, like it will be like, how did the car break? But actually we can use broke down when we talk about problems that happened to the car, and because of the problems the car did not start. All right, so in this case we can use broke down. So back to the sentence. When my car broke down, my friends decided to help me. What kind of help they decided to offer? Putting out some money. So as you see on the picture, the friends on the picture are helping the guy by putting money, like helping him with money. So in this case, we can use put out some money so that he can fix the car. So this is how you can use this particular phrasal verb in sentences. Now let's look at another one. Write down. Write down. What does that mean? When you want to make a note of something by writing it on a paper or typing it into a device, meaning that, let's say for example, you are in the class, all right, and you need to write down what your teacher or professor is saying, or maybe if you are in a meeting and you need to write down what your boss, your manager, or maybe your colleague is saying. So in this case, we can use write down. That means you need to write some points on your note. That's why in here it says we can use writing down to make notes, to make a note of something by writing it on a paper or typing it into a device. Device means on your computer, laptop, maybe on your iPad, something like that, all right? This is what I mean by a device. Now let's look at an example to understand the idea of how to use write down in sentences. Example, before I forget, let me write down the grocery items we need to buy later. What does that mean? It shows that, for example, I am going to the grocery shop to buy like grocery products, alright? But then, because I might forget what I need to buy from the shop, or I mean from the grocery shop, so I need to write down the list of items that I need to buy from the grocery shop. So this is the meaning of write down. So in here we say, let me write down the grocery items. I'm sure there are a lot of people who prefer to write down the list of items before going to the shop, before going to the supermarket or to the grocery shop, so that they will only buy what they need rather than buying anything they like from the supermarket, as I do, which is a bad habit actually. Because really, like for me, when I go to the supermarket, instead of buying what I actually need, I end up buying what I don't really need and forgetting to buy the most important things, like the things that I actually came to the supermarket for. Like, what about you? Would you actually buy the things that you really need from the supermarket, or you end up buying what you don't really need? Just let me know in the comments, all right? So yeah, basically this is how we can use write down in sentences, all right? Now let's move into another phrasal verb. Fill in. Fill in. What does that mean? We need to use fill in when we complete or add information to something that is not completed, all right? Let's say, for example, you need to maybe fill in personal information like your name, nationality, age, phone number, address, and all those, and all the required information maybe to register on something, all right? So in this case, we need to use fill in, like fill in the information. Okay, let's say, for example, you are in the classroom and the professor or your teacher wants you to fill in the blanks. Like, for example, you have a question where you need to fill in the blank using the correct answer. So in this case, we need to, if you need to write down the answer, we can say fill in, like fill in the blank. I'm sure you have come across these kind of questions where you need to fill in the answer using the correct words or using appropriate words. This is how we can use fill in. Let's have a look at the example to understand more the use of fill in. Please fill in your name, address, and phone number on the registration form before submitting it. What does that mean? It means that you are maybe registering for something, alright, and you need to fill in the application form, alright. So in the application form, usually we have our name, like phone number, address, email address, things like that. And in this case, we need to use fill in, like fill in the information. Why? Because the information on the application form is not completed. Alright, so that is why we need to do that. One more thing, just now I said information, we need to fill in the information, even though there are a lot of things that you need to fill. But why did I say information and not informations with S? Because information is uncountable noun, and so we can't use S. We can't add S to uncountable nouns. So that is why we need to say information. If you need to fill in 1 point or more than 1 point, we still use the word information. Never use informations, okay? So I just wanted to highlight that. And if you have any questions regarding the use of countable and uncountable nouns, let me know in the comments, so I will create a video explaining the differences between both of these nouns and how to use them in sentences, and how can we tell if the word is countable or uncountable. Alright, so let's go back to the phrasal verbs. And so basically in this case we can use fill in sentences. Now let's have a look at the next phrasal verb, which is hand in or hand in. What does that mean, hand in? It means that when you want to submit something, usually a piece of work or a document, to someone in authority. Sounds really big, right? Okay, let's explain it. So if you look at the first part, it means to submit something. Submit, that means once you finish writing, you need to give something to another person. So this is the meaning of submit. Like for example, you finish your homework and then you need to give your homework to the teacher. That means you are submitting, or you submit your homework to the teacher. If you have a project and once you finish the project, you need to give it to your professor or to your boss, to your manager. So that means we use the word submit. Alright, so this is basically the meaning of submit. And then, so it says submit something, usually a piece of work, alright, or a document, to someone in authority. Authority here, that means someone in a higher position. Higher position can be a teacher, maybe can be a professor, can be the manager, your boss. It's like someone in a higher position than you. So this is what we mean by authority. Alright, so yeah, this is basically the meaning of hand in. Now let's look at an example to understand the idea of how to use hand in sentences. Don't forget to hand in your homework to the teacher before the end of class. So, what is the meaning of the example? It shows that you need to give your homework to the teacher before the end of class. But instead of saying give your homework, you can say hand in. That means you need to give your homework by hand. This is the idea of using hand in. So we can say hand in your homework to the teacher, or maybe hand in your project to your professor, boss, manager, or maybe hand in some documents to an officer, things like that. If you need to give something by hand, we need to use hand in. Okay, so now let's move into another phrasal verb. Let in. Let in. Meaning that when you allow someone or something to enter a place, then it is let in. It is like giving a permission for someone or something. Alright, so in this case we can use let in. Now let's have a look at an example to understand the idea better. Please open the door and let in some fresh air. What does that mean? I am asking someone to open the door. Why? So we can have some fresh air. Maybe the room is quite stuffy, maybe it is too humid, too hot, and so we need some fresh air to breathe, for example. Alright, so in this case we can use let in some fresh air. Or maybe someone would like to see you, so they would tell you that he or she would like to see you, and the answer will be, of course, no problems, let him in, or let her in, or let them in if we are speaking about people. So in this case we are giving them permission to come in. Alright, so yeah, this is how we can use let in sentences. Now let's have a look at another phrasal verb. Work out. Work out. What does that mean? Work out here when we do some exercise or when it comes to solving problems. So work out means to exercise. It comes to going to the gym, or maybe when doing exercise like outdoor, like maybe running, hiking, things like that, or to solve a problem. Alright, so now let's look at two examples to understand the idea of how to use work out to talk about exercise and to talk about solving problem. I try to work out at the gym 3 times a week. Why? To stay healthy and fit. So in this case we are using workout to speak about indoor activities. Indoor activities, that means doing activities or doing exercise indoor, like inside a room, inside a center. So this is the use of indoor activities. But when it comes to outdoor activities, that means doing exercise outside. It means running outside on the street, or maybe hiking, or maybe going up the mountains, things like that. So this is basically the difference between indoor activities and outdoor activities. But back to this example, we are using workout to speak about the exercise that we do. Alright, so in here it says we need to work out like 3 times a week. Alright, so this is one way of using workout in sentences. Now let's look at the second meaning of workout. We need to work out a solution to this math problem before the end of class. What does that mean? It means that we are in the classroom and the teacher or professor assigned us or gave us a question where we need to answer some math questions. But because the question is really difficult, and so we need to figure out like how to work out, we need to figure out a solution. Figure out or work out, both of them can be used. So we can say to work out a solution or to figure out a solution to this problem before the end of class. That means we really need to know the answer to this question before the end of class. So this is how we can use workout to speak about the kind of exercises that we do at the gym, like if it is indoor or outdoor activities. And we can use workout to speak about the kind of solutions that we need to find, whether solutions related to work or maybe related to certain issues, things like that. Take off. Take off. What does that mean? You need to use take off to talk about removing something or leaving or departing. As it says in here, we need to use it to remove something or to leave or depart, especially in the context of a plane. What does that mean? It means that we need to use take off if you are speaking about removing something. Removing something like, for example, removing clothes. Let's say it is getting hot, so you need to remove your sweater or maybe your jacket because you feel hot. This is one way of using take off. Alright, or when you reach your home, you need to take off your shoes, for example. So in this case, we need to use take off. So basically, take off is related to removing some, or maybe like maybe you have some stain on your shirt and you need to remove them. So we can say take off the stain from the shirt by washing the shirt, for example. So this is one way of using take off in sentences. The other meaning of take off when it comes to leaving or departing. So when the plane is leaving, we can say the plane is taking off. Alright, so this is what we mean by take off when it comes to departing. Departing, that means for the plane, alright, and removing something. Now let's look at two examples to understand the use of take off. It is getting warm in here, and so I am going to take off my sweater. So what does that mean? As you see on the picture, this person is getting hot because the place is so warm, and so he or she is going to take off the sweater. Let's look at the second example. The plane is scheduled to take off at 9 a.m. for its flight to Paris. What does that mean? Based on the schedule, alright, of the plane, so basically the plane takes off at 9 a.m. Alright, so in this case we can use take off because we are speaking about the departure of the plane to Paris. So this is how we can use take off in sentences. And by the way, before concluding this part, I would like to tell you something about the word schedule. It is okay to pronounce it as schedule or scheduled. It's okay, just different way of pronouncing the word. So if you hear people saying schedule, that's okay, that's correct. And if you hear them saying schedule, it's also correct. Both of them can be used, alright? Another thing, when it comes to speaking about scheduling events or maybe scheduling plans, alright, we need to use simple present, like the present simple tense. So when we say, for example, the plane leaves at 9 a.m., that means we are speaking about like a schedule. It's like something fixed, and we are speaking about a schedule. So in this case, we need to use simple present, even if it is happening in the future. Like, for example, if we speak about a plan that is happening tomorrow, but because the plan is already scheduled, we have the time of the plan. So like, for example, we have an event or maybe a class that starts tomorrow. So in this case, you don't need to say the class will start tomorrow at 9 a.m. No, the class starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. Why? Because you have the time of the class and you have the schedule. So in this case, we don't use will or going to be. Alright? When you have fixed events or fixed time of classes, in this case, you need to use the present simple tense. This is just a quick reminder. Alright? So yeah, this is basically everything related to the use of particular phrasal verb take off. So yeah, we reached the end of our phrasal verb podcast. I really hope you managed to get everything in an easy way. And if you have any questions regarding what I have just explained, you are always welcome to let me know in the comments. So I will either respond immediately to your questions or I will create a video to explain your question, all right? I mean, in-depth details, all right? So also, if you have other topics or maybe ideas for the upcoming videos, you are always welcome to let me know, All right, so because really I would because the thing is that I have a lot on my mind about the upcoming videos. It's like I want to explain to you more about different kinds of phrasal verbs and maybe like expressions to use, things related to like motivations on using the language, like in terms of how to speak confidently, maybe how to get out of your comfort zone when it comes to the speaking. I mean, things like that. So seriously, like I have a lot that I am planning to share it with you. But if you have your own ideas, your own topics, you are very welcome to share them with me on the comments, and I will definitely take them into consideration. All right, so thank you so much for being here and for for listening to everything that I have just explained about. And so in this case, I wish you a wonderful time, and I will be looking forward to having you on the upcoming video. So in this case, have a great day and take care. Bye bye.